Another question from our audience. How do you plan to vote on the clean heat standards, assuming they're brought up in this coming Friday? Yes. Oh, sorry. My apologies, Tim. You're first.
I don't know. I mean, I really need to do my research, and of course, the clean heat standard. I'm hoping that it's going to be a little bit of a different effort that comes out of the legislature, because it didn't work last time, and we have the same governor that's serving now. So I need to learn more about that before I could say how I would vote on it.
Rick?
Clean heat standard, as it was already evaluated by the legislature, presented by the legislature, I vote against it. And would urge others to do so. It's intended to force homeowners and businesses to shift the source of their heat. And I think that's a burden that's going to fall most heavily on the poor and the lower middle class. And those who are wealthy are going to be able to handle it just fine. But I want to make sure that we don't go that direction. I think they should have that choice. So if they can reformulate the clean heat standard, I would be interested in having that discussion. But I'm going to be very critical about the direction they want to go to make sure that we protect the homeowners. And this, we're losing people in the state. Why is it a mystery when we do things like this? When we put restrictions on businesses, when we put burdens on homeowners, and this is just a tip of the iceberg. There's a lot more that's happening in the state legislature that needs to be addressed. But as far as clean heat standard, as written, no. Rewritten, maybe. But I want to have a lot of discussion about it.
Thank you. Mark?
Yeah, I didn't read the bill, but I do know for a fact that there is no less efficient way to heat anything than electricity. Whether it be a toaster or electric hot water heater or anything at all, electric registers, there is no less efficient way to heat anything than with electricity. And this, how they dream to create the electricity, renewable green energy, is fueled by a company, a country that's putting on a new coal plant every week to be able to produce what we dream to virtue signal. A new coal plant every week in China, a new coal plant every month in India. And we want to get our products from there to create our clean heat standard. You talk to Evan James Limited over there in Bellows Falls. Those things don't work down below 30 degrees, maybe 20 degrees. They don't work at 30 below. You can't trust it. They'll freeze up. And he's telling people honestly, forcing people to change and do this just to virtue signal for California is a foolish thing, but I would definitely want to read the bill.
Okay, thank you. Wendy?
Thank you. The clean heat standard is based on the goals in the climate action plan. And we can't meet our goals unless we look at changing the way that we heat our homes. Residents are not going to be forced to change. What the bill included were incentives for residents to change. And they'll actually save money. And the poverty organizations are in favor of this because the anti-poverty organizations, rather, because it does save money. Because then residents pay or homeowners pay electrical rates, which we have some control over, rather than being at the whim of gas and oil. I mean, gas and oil is obviously has increased tremendously, and we have no control over that. So it's incentives, that's important. I do want to know more about it, but it is just important to know that everything that the state is doing has an equity lens to it. That's a critical part of the planning. And I encourage you to look on the state website. for this. And the importance of the clean heat standard is that we don't want people investing in new systems that are gonna last 30 years and tie those folks forever to oil and gas. That's the goal, is that when people are changing systems, that they look at these electrical systems, which actually do work in cold climates. I actually have one. And the state subsidizes it, so it's less expensive for folks to get one of these systems, and then for the next 30 years, they're better off.
Thank you.
So I was trying to think of the best way to phrase this, so I'll say that I support the spirit of what is in this piece of legislation, but personally, when it comes to saying that I will vote yes or I will vote no on a piece of legislation, that's a really heavy duty responsibility, and I can't say one way or the other without having read every line of that bill and without having spoken with people who are experts in that field. Climate change and reducing our carbon emissions is one of my top priorities. I served on the Climate Solutions Caucus, and but I also recognize the fact that Vermont by itself is not going to completely change the entire course of the planet's carbon emissions, but that doesn't mean that we can't make an effort and at least try to lead by example. And also looking at building out climate resiliency. I think that even if we do move forward with reducing our carbon emissions, we're still going to see climate catastrophes happening. We're going to see people moving to this state because of climate catastrophes in other parts of this country. And I think that's something that we also need to focus on.